I am here with Dmitry, an old coaching client of mine. And Dmitry, man, you did the one-on-one coaching with me, and it was a pretty crazy couple of months. I'll read out some of the highlights from your weeks in the coaching. You met a girl who was a virgin, and you guys had sex within something like 3 hours of meeting each other. You dated or slept with three girls in the 2 months when dating wasn't even your goal. That wasn't what you came to me for coaching. You started your own coaching business, which kind of was what you came to me for. You got paid 450 US dollars from one client alone. You started your own blog. You started your own YouTube channel. You found peace, and that's a big one. We're going to come back to that. You improved your social life. You started hanging out with friends a lot more and being less of a lone wolf. You learned how to be much kinder to yourself. That's a big one. You felt like you were part of a community, no longer the lone wolf. You started another 365-day project doing a video a day because you're a psychopath. You've done like two. This is your second 365-day project. And I think this is a big one. You became a lot more open and honest and vulnerable. So if you're to rate the 3 months of coaching that you did, rate yourself. If you're going to rate the how you think it went, I think you did an A+ job, but how do you think you went?
Yeah, I surprisingly I didn't even think about all of the changes that I will make. I
Mm.
literally went there because I wanted support myself financially. I wanted to start a business and I didn't even know why or
Yeah,
what I
you had
would
no
do.
idea what business. You were
Yeah,
just like, Andy, I want to do a business. I don't know what to do. I know nothing. I don't even know what I'm passionate about.
I don't even know how to approach this, like how to create some ideas. So I basically started from that, and I definitely thought that would be my only focus for the 3 months. And I didn't think I would do anything else. And what I got from it, all the mental changes,
Mm.
were just something that I needed for a long time, for years already, that I just didn't know that I needed that.
Mm.
And this switch after to being more peaceful, more grateful, that was the huge part. And that is in my content now. That is in something that I try to give people as well because I found it in myself. That was the awesome part. But just even to allow myself that I can stop controlling everything, that I can stop stressing about a lot of stuff. And I was stressing a lot of stuff
Mm.
before when I was thinking about business and thinking that I cannot support. I want a lot of things, I don't have them yet, all of this stuff. And I became just much more relaxed about it. Still
I'd
taking
say you
action,
became a
still,
much more
yeah,
peaceful person. Yeah.
yeah. It was probably the biggest change that I got in this month.
And it's when you first signed up, did you have any idea that that would be what we would work on? Mental peace and happiness?
I had absolutely no idea. Yeah, and even after the only the first call, I had so many changes already. And over the next weeks, I mostly improved on my mental stuff. I
Mm.
went along with actions on my business, but what was really happening is I was just basically fixing my head in that way. Um, yeah, I think the that was what I needed actually to get at, from the beginning.
Yeah, because was it the first call where we had the big speech where you gave? Was that the first call?
Yeah, yeah,
Motherfucker, what a big first call we had. Jesus, yeah.
yeah.
No, I do remember that call. I didn't know that it was the first call. I thought it was the second call. As soon as we finished that call, I went to my girlfriend and I said, "Holy shit, I think that was one of the best calls I've ever had." And then I said, "The pressure is on for me to keep that up like next week." So I want to read out, there's a beautiful segue. I want to read out what you posted in the group after that first call. And for a bit of context, you had in the past gone through a long period of time with a lot of self-harm. Let's talk about that for a minute. So, how long did you self-harm for? Because I know there's a couple of guys on our forums who self-harm as well, and I think they probably get a lot out of this. What was the self-harming like? What was your headspace like? And how did you start working through that and getting to a point where you could heal yourself? This was, by the way, this was like before the coaching. Let's make that clear.
Yeah, it was probably right now 4 or 5, well, probably 5 or 6 years ago even. It was my period after I finished my college, and I was absolutely alone, and I didn't know what I could even do. I had absolutely no idea that I can change my life at that moment. And so I think this self-harm period came when I just wanted to be part of something. So I found this weird subreddit that were discussing all of this stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a part of this now. And
Mm,
I guess I don't remember exactly how it all happened. It, it's all kind of blurred,
mm,
but yeah, it's just got into my head. Like there was this community that existed, and I was feeling so bad. I had a lot of depressive periods when I just stayed at home and basically didn't want to wake up. Even I just sleeping all of the day. I didn't want to s- stand up from my bed, and I didn't go to work that I had at that time. I just skipped it at that because I was feeling absolutely miserable at that moment. And I guess that self-harm, it's at that moment it gave me at least some sense of belonging to some group, something unique, something that was about me. And I
yeah.
just didn't know that something else was possible. And I think it got I think I was doing that for maybe half a year, something like that. It was going on like this self-harm period. So
Mm,
it wasn't like completely extreme that I was almost on the brink of like there was no harm to my life, never no danger to that, but I got really heavily into pain. I was cutting my shoulders there. And at the start, I was really just afraid
mm,
of it. But over time, I just got into, and it was something, probably the only thing that I even liked in my life at that time. And it, it was it was a bit scary looking back at it because I didn't even want to get out. I just wanted to continue because that was something that gave me,
a purpose almost.
yeah, yeah.
What made
And
you stop?
that's, I remember a couple of things that happened, like my parents noticed that because I just stopped being, at the start, I was careful, I was afraid of that. And after a while, I just didn't care anymore. And that was the huge hit to me.
Mm,
And also, I think there was some action that I started doing. So the huge problem at that time was I was completely missing dating life. Uh, that was my most important obsession at that time. So
mm,
at that point, I never held a girl's hand at that time. And that was something that really hurt me And I think I started doing something about that actually, and that caused me to switch from this. I was doing a really bad job at the start because, of course, I didn't know what exactly
I feel like we all do
I
a bad
needed to
job at the
do.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of girls that were just in my life, and I guess I just started thinking that okay, I at least can do something about it. At least can there was something inside me that was telling that if I just continue with this self-harm, it doesn't really help me. Because at
It
that
doesn't
time,
lead anywhere good.
yeah, and this sense of belonging to community, it just diminished. It didn't give me as much as I wanted. So at the start, it was something unique. It was something that I needed. But over time, I realized that it's not what I actually wanted. And I guess like there were a lot of things I think that got into me stopping this self-harm. I think I gradually reduced it, but I don't remember. Again, it's a little bit blurry, but I do remember that after that time, in a couple of months after I stopped, I got into my first relationship. So there I did something there to just refocus my mind. And there was a lot of pain at the start because with all of my actions, I only got rejections at me because, of course, I wasn't doing a good job and it was completely awful. But yeah, I think that got me out of it. Just actually starting to believe that something can be changed, even though I didn't even think in these terms that at that moment.
Yeah, it's like you're pulled to a higher power. A lot of the time, when people get into self harm, it can be incredibly scary at the start because it's like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, you almost don't understand it. It's almost like some dark thing that your body or your psyche is making you do, and you don't quite understand why you're doing it. Like, but you just know that it gives you something. You're not sure what it is. In your case, it's a sense of, as you said, like belonging or like part of a community or like a
Mhm.
purpose. For other people, it's a relief. For other people, it's I can finally feel something. At least the pain is something. It's better than nothing. So it is getting you something. And I think one of the first steps to working through self harm is to admitting to yourself, okay, I'm not fucked up. There's not something wrong with me that's making me self harm. Like, I am doing this because it is serving a purpose. It is me trying to get something, or my brain or my psyche or whatever is trying to get something, whether that's peace, whether that's feeling something, whether that's community. So, whatever I'm trying to get, let me figure out what that is. And obviously, there's resources for this. If anyone is in the same situation, please reach out to me. I'm sure Dmitry would happily answer your questions on his YouTube channel. But please reach out to somebody, or a psychologist, or a friend, or a counselor, or something, and get them to help you, or get us to help you figure out what it is that you're trying to actually get from the self-harming, and then figure out ways that you can get that with a healthier way. In your case, it's like, okay, what if I just try and get a relationship? That's what I'm trying to get here. Some sort of like sense of belonging. What if I get that? That could be friends, that could be dating, could be, a community. But yeah, I love that transition, man. Do you want me to read out the great quote?
Yeah.
Okay, so with all of that context, and I really appreciate you sharing, by the way, I really do. I really appreciate you being open and vulnerable with that. And again, if anybody is out there in the same sort of situation, please fucking open up. Just leave a comment or send me an email or send Dmitry a private message or something, please. But on our first coaching call, you told me some of that, and you'd already told bits and pieces, I think, in the Facebook group. And basically, you came to me with all these hopes and aspirations and dreams and all this exciting stuff that you said, I need to do. I have to do all this. Like, you had something to prove. And I said to you, and I say this to a lot of my coaching clients, no, you don't need to do anything. You're allowed to do things. You want to do things. You get to do things. It's a bonus. It's a gift. It's a privilege. Self-improvement is a beautiful fucking bonus, but you don't have to do anything. And I gave you this long speech, which I can't fully remember, but it was a good speech. I remember it being a very passionate speech. It's like a 15-minute speech. And one of the things I said in there was, you've already proven everything you need to prove. Like the fact that you went through this depression and this self harm and you hadn't even held hands with a woman and you overcame that, all of this stuff, the fact that you didn't hurt yourself or kill yourself or any of that, that means you won. And again, I can't remember the speech, but it was this big long speech. But you posted a couple of days later in the Facebook group, in the coaching group, and I've already asked your permission. I'd like to read this out because I think this is really fucking powerful. I think anyone else out there listening who's been through some sort of depression or a dark period in their life, or maybe you've gone to jail like I did, or depression like I did, or self-harming like Dmitry, and I think we don't give ourselves credit when we make it through those periods. People who tend to go through something dark like that often put all this pressure on themselves afterwards of like, oh, I got to go and make a lot of money. I got to have an amazing dating life. I got to find a relationship and love and do this and do that. You put all the pressure on yourself and you don't realize, wait, the fact that I'm even alive is something pretty special. Or the fact that I didn't just go to a really even more dark place, the fact that I'm okay is something to be grateful for. So this post that you wrote, you said, Andy, I was remembering what you said to me last time. You said you beat depression. You beat suicidal thoughts. You didn't kill yourself. You won. You don't have anything left to prove after that. You already proved it. And you went on to say, it didn't affect me much during the call, but these words I just couldn't let go. They kept appearing again and again, and I felt that there was something there. I re-listened to you saying that part of the coaching call. I broke into tears. I listened tens of times more for the last 2 hours, switching back and forwards between crying and repeating, you proved it, to myself in the mirror. I didn't realize that it was so deep inside. I thought I was over that pain and never looked back. But all I did was to bury these feelings. I was terrified to notice them again. It will take more repetitions to fully process all of this, but now I feel lighter. I think it is the only thing I needed to hear from all of this. I'm assuming you mean all of this coaching. That I am enough. That I actually won. For someone who can truly relate and notice, someone who can truly relate to notice and say this to me, I think these words are forever burned in my memory now. I was waiting for this moment for 8 years. Everything after this is a bonus. That was a big fucking epiphany, my friend. Holy shit. Anything you want to add to that? That was week 1 too. We started off pretty decent.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what I can add to that because that was probably the thing that allowed me then to do all of this, all of the action, because otherwise I would have just I was really obsessed at the first week, and that was the switch that I needed. And like I said, for all of the years prior as well, because I always try to prove something. And
Yeah. I think we talked about this before. It's like at the start, that's a good thing. Not that it's ever a bad thing, but at the start, it serves a purpose, right? You go through the self-harm, or in my case, you go through the depression. You push yourself like crazy afterwards. You have all of these expectations. You have something to prove. You go absolutely crazy with your self-improvement and your goals, and you prove that thing. But then there's like a transition period that you kind of want to get into, which is like, maybe I've proven enough at this point. Maybe I am enough. Maybe I've done enough. Now, I'm allowed to keep doing more, but I do want to hit the pause button and say, I've done a lot. This is more than I thought I would ever be able to do. This is something unfathomable to me when I was, back in my self-harming days. I never thought I could ever get to this point. And that was something that, we also worked on with the coaching, was getting you to pause and take breaks and actually reflect and say, you know what, I've done a lot. Like, let me give myself credit, because I think you definitely struggled with that. You put a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah. I started a lot of things that allowed me to just notice the progress that I was making. These journals that I started doing, these reviews that I did every day, that was really helpful to even notice, because sometimes I just reread something that happened in the last week, and I cannot even remember what to say about the last months or something even.
Yeah, in self-improvement, we tend to
It's
just push ourselves like crazy and we don't reflect. And so if anyone doesn't know what you're referring to, you posted in the Facebook group twice a day with like, here's what I'm doing, here's what I did yesterday, like a reflection to make yourself slow down. Like how much did that help being able to share that stuff?
no, definitely that was probably the most important part that
Mm,
I really needed to, even if it's not, even if it will not cause someone to respond, just to notice that, just to being able to share my thoughts, my
mm.
ideas. It's just uh, something that allowed me to express. That was my first attempt at expression, probably, just to
You struggled
sharing,
with it
because
too at the start.
yeah, I was on forums. I was posting like a couple of reviews there. It was usually weekly, monthly reviews before, but it was like I was somewhere. I didn't think specifically. I didn't post them for anyone to read. I was posting them for myself.
Sure.
And here in the small group, I knew that I'm posting, like, if there is something there, people will tell me. that
Yes, yes, yes.
that was much more, I would say, vulnerable for me, because
Personal, like intimate
yeah,
almost.
personal,
Yeah.
personal, yeah.
Mm.
I don't think I had trouble with sharing a lot of stuff, like from fear of something, but I didn't feel the need at that time. And I definitely didn't think, I really thought that I would be just distracting everyone by posting that much. And but it was still really useful. And after I realized that it's actually a good thing when other people posted as well in the group, and I could help as well, and just have some reflection from everyone, from someone who post as well. So does it is really helpful for everyone. But at that time, I thought, okay, I'm gonna just ask for permission and at least do that for myself. And it was really what I was needed at the start as well. So just
Yeah.
to reflect, just to be able to express all of my feelings, all of my thoughts.
Because you very much had something that a lot of guys have when they join my coaching programs. And I think a lot of the audience will have this as well, which is that like lone wolf mentality of like,
Yeah,
I can't be a burden. I think especially guys tend to have this. I can't be a burden. I can't ask for help too much. I can't post in the Facebook, in the coaching program, in the group too much because I'll be burdening everybody else. I don't want to waste everybody else's time. You even you even went through, I laugh because we can laugh now that we're on the other side of it. You even went through this period, little mini period where you were like, I don't deserve to be here in this group. I'm wasting everybody's time. Who am I to think that I deserve to be in this group amongst all these amazing people? Like, I'm not good enough. You, and I laugh because, like, we're on the other side of it now, but that's like really common, man. You have no idea how many other guys have said, I don't feel like I deserve to be here amongst the other people. I myself, back in the day when I was on the Good Looking Loser forums, I didn't feel like I deserved to be there. I was terrified they were, excuse me, I was terrified they were going to kick me out. I thought I'm not cool enough to be here. I'm a loser. These people are all cool. They have money. Some of them are rich. They have plenty of women in their life. I have none of that. I'm just some like skinny fat loser. They're going to kick me out. So it's a lot more common than we think. But yeah, that's one of the things that I find comes up so often, man. And that's such a big part of what I coach, especially guys on. It's like, hey, just give yourself permission to be sitting at the table with the rest of us. Give yourself permission to go for these goals. Give yourself permission to ask for what you want. A lot of guys really struggle to literally just ask a woman, hi, would you like to get a drink with me? Because they think they don't deserve to. They think they're not good enough. They think they're not ready, or now's not the right time, or they have to, lose weight first or do this. It's such a common thing, man. But you definitely had that like lone wolf syndrome where you were like, I don't deserve any of this. And as we said to you, it's like, mate, even if you don't deserve it, just do it anyway. Like, what does it matter if you don't deserve it? It's like, just do it anyway. Like, we want you to be doing it. We like you in this group. Just hurry up and do it. So it's more common than you think.
Yeah, and yeah, that breakdown,
That breakdown, yeah.
that
It was such a short
yeah.
breakdown, but I know it was a very fucking intense breakdown for you at the time.
Yeah, I had a lot of paranoid thoughts. I thought
Yeah.
I couldn't trust myself, and that
Yeah.
message in the group was just the last attempt of getting some help before I would totally lose control and I would totally like just stop existing or something. Like it
Yeah.
was
And
really intense in that moment. Yeah.
for anyone listening, for context, basically you had been working yourself to the bone and not really taking time off and not relaxing. And I had told you several weeks in a row, I was like, hey man, like, just letting you know that most people who do this in my coaching program have a breakdown, which is why I'm pushing you to have time off and relax and remember to enjoy the process. And this is meant to be fun. Stop beating yourself up. But even as I tell you all that, it's okay if you have a breakdown. Everything will be okay. And you were like, what makes you think I'm going to have a breakdown? Why will I have a breakdown? I'm not going to have a breakdown. I was like, well, you might not, but it'll be okay if you do. We're all here for you. And then like 2 weeks later, you're like, fuck, help. I'm having a breakdown because I'm working myself too hard. And that's, again, such an incredibly common thing. I I think a big part of it is because people pay so much money to be part of the coaching program. They know that it's only for a certain amount of time. And we put a lot of safeguards in place. But for a lot of guys, it's almost like and Cam even said this to you, it's almost like a norm. I don't want to say it's normal because I don't want to like encourage people to have a breakdown. But at least for me, the number of breakdowns that I've had over the last like 5 years, and they're not like a full on fucking psychotic breakdown, you end up in a psych ward or something, but like just an emotional breakdown where it all comes out, you're crying, you're like, what am I even doing this for? I'm never going to make it. Like all of the stuff that you've been bottling up finally comes out. And I find, especially in a supportive group like the coaching program, where everybody's obviously so fucking kind to you when you have a breakdown, like everybody is so goddamn nice. I feel like for a lot of guys, maybe it was for you too, it's the first time you've ever actually been that fucking vulnerable, especially with other men, and to just completely say, for a moment in time, I'm helpless. Because I don't think as men we ever really say that. I think women are much more comfortable saying, I'm helpless, help me. But guys just like, you think you're going to die if you ever say, help me. Like, that seems like death. And to have those little moments in time where, and again, your breakdown was only for a couple of days, like for a day or two, to have those little moments in time where you're truly helpless and you see that other people are like, it's okay. We got you. You'll be fine. Come on, buddy. Just like pick yourself up. We're here for you. Like, how had you had that in your life? Because I know for me, I had a couple of breakdowns in the good looking loser days on the forums. I'd never had that kind of like emotional breakdown, especially not with other men. And having them be there for me and just know that, like, oh, they actually give a shit. It really switched in my brain. I went from that like lone wolf guy who's always doing everything by himself. I switched to like, oh, this is a collaboration. Like, these people are helping me. Was it that for you?
Yeah, it definitely allowed me to, I think, probably for the first time in my life to ask for help that directly, to be that vulnerable, to show that,
Yeah.
to show all of that. And yeah, I could do all of that because I just didn't have anything of mine. I thought I didn't have anything of mine left to support. So even reaching out to someone seemed like a more trustworthy uh, thing to do. But looking back at it, it was a really important this switch in me, which allowed me to ask for help. I couldn't before, and for now it's not that big of a problem, and I received a lot from it as well, just a lot of support and seeing like all of my arguments, all of my fears of not belonging that I expressed there were actually just my thoughts at that moment. And when I saw people's responses and your response to it as well, I just realized that reality was different. It was me who was just thinking that everything breaks apart, and
Yep.
actually, yeah, it was only a couple of days when I haven't been able to do a lot of stuff, and that was for me. I recovered from it. Well, I, it was a funny moment when I just almost learned how to speak with myself, how to manage my expectations, how to reason, how to just make compromises with something that I wanted to do. So I
Hmm.
wouldn't have, I had almost like a panic attacks after that when I thought about something big to do. So all this time from the start, from the couple of days before this and after, it took about a week, but this intense period, yeah, it was a couple of days, and just still realizing that it's not that big of a deal over the course of life, and that may happen, and that life still goes on, and nothing really bad happened. And I think I got two really huge things out of that experience. Firstly, it is asking for help.
Mm.
It
Mm.
it was probably the most important thing. And the second, I stopped being afraid of my breakdowns. I stopped being afraid
Mm.
of these periods in time that I really was afraid before. I was trying to escape that, mm, because I don't know. I don't even know what I was afraid of
It's almost
that.
like you're afraid of your own emotions, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, yeah. I just didn't know what would happen. And
Yeah.
after that, yeah,
I think that's pretty common, especially for guys. Again, it's the way I, and this is what I kind of gently warned you about it, a couple of weeks. And the number of times, dude, the number of times with a coaching client, I have like gently warned them, like, hey, listen, I can't predict the future, but in my experience, when a guy goes as crazy hard as you are every single second of every day, he eventually has a breakdown. Now, I can't guarantee you will have a breakdown, but you might. So here's what I recommend you do to avoid that. The number of times I've had that conversation and then they have a breakdown and I go, hey, remember we knew this was going to come. Remember we talked about it. So here's what we're going to do now. Like, it's just such a common thing in, I think, men's self improvement, particularly probably our community. I think our guys and girls push themselves like fucking crazy. And I try and balance that with so much stuff about peace and happiness and enjoying the process and all of that. But I definitely saw you as someone who was so unbelievably hard on yourself. And you were like there's the brick wall, and you were just coming closer and closer. And I can't know the future, but I really did think you were going to hit the brick wall, and then yeah, you did. And I think it was almost like a metamorphosis for you. It was like like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. You came out of that so much more peaceful, and you remind me of another guy that I did an interview with. I can't remember if I said his name in the interview, so I'll keep him anonymous. No, I did. His name is Harry. I did a podcast with him. Same shit. He went through not a full on breakdown, but like almost a breakdown, and came out of it just like so much more peaceful and just chill and relaxed. And I've seen that with so many coaching clients where it's like the caterpillar becomes the butterfly. You know, I think it was ultimately a really, really, really healing thing for you. But it definitely was like, I think it was a long time coming. I think it was because if you avoid and bottle up emotions for long enough, yeah, they fucking come out. Like your body eventually just goes, I can't just keep keeping this inside. Like this has to come out. So big transformation there. Should we talk
yeah,
about the stuff that people will want to hear about? Sex. People want to hear about
yeah.
the scandalous stuff. Sex, money, business, and then we'll come back more to the peace and happiness stuff because you know that's what I care about, and I know that's what you care about. But we'll give the people what they
Sure.
want. So you dating was like not even remotely what you were trying to work
Yeah.
on. In fact, when you first came to me, you were like, I don't want to do any dating shit. I'm like not using Tinder. I'm not using dating apps. I'm not going to talk to women. I just want to do business. Like that's all I want to do. And then you accidentally slept with three girls in 2 months. And one of them was And within that, and we'll talk about this in a second, within that, I think you worked a lot more on your intimacy and your vulnerability and openness, and definitely your honesty with women. I think that was incredibly huge. We'll talk about the one woman in a second. T is T, isn't it? T. We'll call her
Mm,
T.
okay.
But before that, you had a really cool experience. You met a girl, and she happened to be a virgin, and you guys had sex within something like 3 hours or something. And I remember that just like blowing your mind. You were like, "How is this even possible?" And you really liked her. You liked the dynamic of like mentoring her and going really slow and teaching her about sex and all of that. So walk us through that. How does one, without even really meaning to, meet a girl who's a virgin and have sex with her a couple of hours later? Like, how does that happen? And don't say luck, although I guess it was kind of luck, wasn't it? It's just a numbers game, but
Yeah, that I over the time I realized that luck is just me showing up, and eventually something like that can
lots of
happen.
times, yep. Yep.
Yeah, uh, but yeah, that was basically it. After having some, yeah, after realizing that dating is actually something I cannot ignore at that time, and
Hmm.
I just couldn't focus entirely on something else. Like I needed this balance in my life. I started being more honest on Tinder. I was just writing everything that I wanted to,
Hmm.
and I started getting a lot of these responses that were really honest. And I
Hmm.
guess that's what allowed me to find someone that open to
Hmm.
like just because there was a lot of concerns on the app. There were a lot of things that I had to be patient and to talk about, and before I wouldn't have had patience. and
Yeah.
and and after I started just being kind of real, being just talking about the stuff that I wanted. And
And to be clear, when you say being honest, you mean like being honest about the fact that you wanted casual sex?
yeah, about that I want something ongoing as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I still want to keep in touch after that, and I want to build connection as well,
Mm-hmm.
and all of this stuff, and just even asking them if they didn't like something that I said. I was asking them like, what do you search for? And that turned out into a couple of dates, and one of them was this girl as well. And
And that vulnerability was really difficult for you at the start, wasn't it? Like just actually saying what you wanted. It's you saying, "Hey, can
yeah,
I have this? Am I allowed to have this?" It's you basically asking the universe, "Am I allowed to have this thing?" And for extra context, for anyone saying, "Oh, it's really hard to get, dates and have sex in conservative countries," you're in motherfucking Serbia, one of the most conservative countries. Like, holy shit! And so, yeah, you did really well. But back to the story. This woman, honesty, having a few dates.
yeah. For this particular girl, we just met in a cafe, and it was almost that we connected on this, like, this approach to life, this positive thinking that I developed
Mm-hmm.
at that time. This just sharing yourself and giving out to people, because she was like that as well. And I guess we just really connected on that, and being really fond of each other. And I just basically made the moves and took initiative, just asked for going to my place. Then I didn't even think about sex at that time. I was just okay with us going and not doing anything, like just sitting there in a more private atmosphere. And yeah, but I just kept asking, and she was really happy with that. And that's that's basically what think that it was really a huge part of me just accepting any outcome and just being okay.
Because you struggled with that in the past. You talked
Yeah,
about this at the start of the podcast. You were someone that wanted to like control everything. And you weren't like a controlling person with everyone else, but it's almost like a frustration of like, oh god damn it, like no one's doing what I wanted. Like I have to make sure everything goes perfect. I think that's pretty common. But you became almost like a spiritual hippie, halfway through the coaching, and definitely by the end of it, you were just like, whatever happens will happen. Like everything is okay. I'm just gonna sit
yeah,
here and like meditate and like everything is fine. And you definitely were like that with the dates you were on with women. You were a lot more
yeah,
like vulnerable and willing to just say like, "Hey, here's what I'm looking for. Is that what you want?" And if they said no, you did a pretty good job of saying like, "Okay, what are you looking for?" And you even had a couple of girls that had said no to what you wanted, and then when you asked them what they wanted, you were like, "Oh, well, I could have that. I'm
yeah,
okay with that." And I think that happens a lot in dating where people will say, "I want this. Do you want it?" The other person will say no, and they'll go, "Okay, well, fine, bye." And they don't really follow up and say, "Well, wait, can we, like, is there some overlap in what we both want? If I ask you what you want, maybe it is also what I want, but I just assumed you didn't want what I wanted." So there's a lot of like miscommunication in dating, and you definitely worked through that and were a lot more like honest and vulnerable than you'd ever really been in the past.
yeah. That especially here, especially being in Serbia, where
Mm.
people just are not, from my experience at least, it was not that common to be open to something but the traditional stuff.
Yeah, like conservative full
Yeah,
on monogamous relationships.
yeah, and even all of the concepts like uh, this casual or ongoing thing that I was telling about before, or friends with benefits, it's all seemed like there are absolutely no connection. There are absolutely like we are only there for sex and that's it. And that I got from a lot of people here,
Mm.
and me being just more ready to accept their point of view and ask them well, what they want. It was absolutely crucial here. It was
Yeah,
it's what people needed here
yeah,
because I
because to
don't understand the culture there,
I
and
remember when
even
we
if I yeah, mhm.
you go. I
Even
interrupted you
if they
twice.
understand the culture, they still can't think something inside themselves because they have some predefined notions of how it should go, and just to ask, just to be without these definitions of types of relationships and just talk about what each of us wants, and can we, if we are happy with that. That was the really important part.
Yeah, you basically had to drop the labels because I remember at the
Yeah,
start you were getting a bit frustrated because you would tell a lot of these girls like, "Hey, I'm looking for something casual," and because you're in Serbia, most of them just didn't like that. They were like, "Fuck no, no, no," and you got really frustrated. And I remember I said to you, "Why don't you just ask the women what they want? Like, they've already said no, so that's fine, but just say to them like, I'm curious, what did you actually want?" And yeah, like I said, you found that quite a few of them basically wanted what you wanted, but they just had in their head when you said the
mhm,
word casual, they thought like, "Oh no, that's horrible. I could never do that." And you say, "Well, what would you be open to? What do you actually want?" And they'd say, "Well, if we had sex once a week and we hung out together, and then that would be good." And you're like, "But that's what I want." We're just using different words for the same thing. So there was almost like something lost in translation there, and it's just like people in cultures have their own ideas, like you said, like a preconceived notion, or like, I could never have a casual relationship. That's for those Western sluts. Like, but then you say, well, what would you actually be okay with? Well, I'd be okay with doing the same thing as those Western girls, as long as we didn't call it casual. As long as, so
yeah,
yeah, there was a
yeah,
lot more like communication from your end and a lot of like problem solving, basically. Like you
yeah,
asking them,
definitely.
yeah, like you asking them, what would you be okay with? Or what would you be cool with? Like what would you enjoy? Not just what would you be okay with. What would you enjoy? What would I enjoy? Is there a way we could do that together? And I remember you had quite a few girls who were like, well, like I would just want to spend time with you and have some feelings. And you're like, I want fucking feelings too. I never said I didn't want feelings. And yeah, that's quite a common thing, I think. When we say as guys, I'm looking for something casual, a lot of women will assume that means no feelings. It's never going to go anywhere. We're not allowed to like each other. We can't see each other for more than, I don't know, 1 month. It can only ever be casual sex with no talking afterwards. And it's like, no, 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 that's not what I meant. So, one thing I've started doing myself a lot more, and I know you do it now too, is just like not using labels as much. And as you said before, actually explaining, here's what I want. I want to see someone ongoing. I'm okay if it turns into a relationship. I want to be non monogamous though. I want us to see each other casually, like once a week or maybe twice a week, not too much because I'm busy. I will care about you. It's okay if you get feelings. Does that sound good to you? Or what would you like? Does that sound like something you would like? So, yeah, I really respected how much you got in there with the, after the initial frustration, because you were a bit frustrated at the start. It was
Yeah.
like, Serbian women are never going to have sex with me. And I was like, ask them what they want, though. Like, maybe there's something lost in translation there. And then there was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this inexperienced girl, you also saw a couple of other girls. You saw 3 girls in total in a really short period of time when it wasn't even your goal. But
Mhm.
I think more than that, man, I want to talk about because sex is sex. Sex is cool, but I want to talk about like the vulnerability and how open you were with them. And also if we can tie it into your friend, like your ex, I guess, who became your
Mhm.
friend and that process. Because for a little bit of context, you had slept with this woman. You guys had slept together a while ago, and she had, or you had both sort of ended things, and you ended things, and you said, "I only want sex. Like I only want to see you if we're gonna have
Yeah.
sex." And you said, "Like I don't want to be friends." And I remember we had this conversation where I was like, you could be friends with her. You'd already wanted to do it. And I said, you could just be friends with her. Like, she sounds like she's very ambitious. She's into self improvement. She sounds like she had a positive effect on your life. Why can't you just be friends with her? And like, you guys can push each other with your goals. Like, if that's something you want to do, I'd never tell someone they have to. And you were really fucking vulnerable. It took a lot for you to do it, but you reached out to her and you're like, hey, like, I'm sorry I haven't contacted you. Like, would you like to be friends? And walk us through that, because it wasn't easy for you, and it
Yeah.
sounds like you got a lot out of her, including some intimacy that wasn't sexual. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. There was a lot of ego involved in not contacting her first at the
Fuck
start.
this
And
bitch, and you didn't speak like that, but that's the thoughts that we sometimes
yeah,
have in our heads.
I still thought about her fondly and all, but there was still something inside my head that told like, oh, I, if she wants, she will contact me, and I shouldn't do that.
Mate, that's so many men and women do that, where they're just
Yeah.
like, I wish this person would contact me. They need to contact me first. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
the first one to do it. And it's like, why don't you just take a deep breath and be the first one to do it? And you do have to drop the ego for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I did at that time after we talked about this. In a couple of days, I just thought about it, and yeah, I did. I wasn't even. It's not like, oh, I like you, come back to me, or something like that. That would be. I wouldn't say that would be a really good approach there, but I just talked about everything that I got from our first relationship, how grateful I was, and that I would really like to have you in my life in any way. And yeah, that would have been. And basically, I just said that, and I was okay with any response.
Yeah, you had no expectations. Yeah, you didn't need
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
from her.
yeah. And she responded. She actually was surprised because yeah, she was still wanting only to be friends, uh, and she thought like I cannot, like, she wouldn't have reached out to me because yeah, she thought like I don't want this. But over that, and to be clear, at that time when we ended things, I really was not able to be friends with
Yeah,
her or
you
anyone
went through a
else.
big transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, at that time I was so obsessed with dating and sex. I was so missing that in my life. I couldn't handle that.
Hmm.
And so at that time I ended it because of that. And now, half a year later, I was totally okay. I was more relaxed about dating stuff. It was after my some like initial transformations where I was more peaceful with everything. I was still a little bit frustrated about dating life sometimes, but I was really more relaxed about it.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, let's meet and talk about this. And there was so much trust and connection that we built at that time, and that was just I I was really surprised how much there was. And over the time that we were friends for how long? Like we were back to seeing each other as friends for 4 or 5 months at this point, I guess. I think four.
Mm.
And we gave each other so much support and like, yeah, because she is ambitious, she is into self-improvement, and that was really amazing. And yeah, about this, because there is still a lot of connection that we build, a lot of like intimacy in the way of sharing things, in a
Mm.
way that we can be really vulnerable with each other. And that helped to share a lot of the stuff that I needed to share with someone, a lot of the some struggles in the moment. At that breakdown that we talked about, I reached out to her as well, and I met with her as well, and she helped me a lot through that as well later. So yeah, and just allowing myself to have other, just seeing that I can have not only sexual relationships, and being more open to whatever can come, and
Mm.
seeing how it can be a really good thing. That was,
Yeah. You used to be very closed off, and you didn't mean to be. I used to be very closed off too, especially to women. If they didn't want to have sex with me, fuck off. Like that was kind of my mindset. And you definitely became a lot more open. And what happens when we become more open, which is why I talk about open mindedness and honesty and all of that a lot in my content these days. What happens when we're more open is people just want to be around us. People, without even trying, give us things. They give us value. We give them value. Like people will just, it's like you become a magnet and people want to come to you when you're more and more open. And when you open yourself up to, like you said, stuff that isn't just sex, yeah, you realize there's a whole lot of value that you can be given and give to other people. There's friendship, there's intimacy, there's self-improvement, there's pushing each other, there's vulnerability, there's practicing your social skills and stuff like that. And obviously we'd never say that someone has to be friends with someone. That's not what we're saying here at all, but you definitely became a lot more open to it. And that's something I've slowly started doing as well over the last couple of years, is like, oh wait, I can have female friends. Whereas in the past, I would have just said, like, no, I can't have female friends. If they're not giving me sex, then they're no use to me. And it's like, well, that's very close minded. And again, if you're in that mindset, great. Like, have whatever mindset you want. But you're definitely someone that's benefited from being a lot more open minded.
yeah, I feel that still requires a lot of like advancement in that,
It
being
took you a while
more
to get
okay.
there.
Yeah, yeah, because at the
Mm.
start it would definitely hurt me more than gave me.
Me too. Me too at the start. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a process. And we're not, again, saying that everybody has to immediately go out and be friends with 500 people of the opposite gender. I
Yeah,
have my girlfriend has a friend who's very closed off to men. Like she's been through some stuff and she's very closed off to men. If I tell her, hey, go be friends with like 20 guys, she might, or she might just tell me like, fuck off. Like, so it's everybody has their own journey with this stuff. Let's segue to money, 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 money. And we'll come back to the mental side of things. You, in the coaching group, we said this before. You basically came to me and you're like, hey, motherfucker, I would like to start a business. And I was like, great. What business do you want to start? And you said, I don't know. And I said, okay, well, what are you good at? I don't know. But what do you like to do? I'm not sure. And so we really started from and I've done that with a couple of guys now, a couple of the other guys in the group that you know. started their
Hmm.
own stuff as well. We had the same conversations. What do I start? I don't know. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is you don't have to know what kind of passion you have or what kind of things you would be good at or what business you could start. I think so many people could start a side hustle or a business or a YouTube channel or anything really, or write a book, but they don't give themselves permission because they say, I'm not good at anything, or I don't have any skills, or I'm just not an expert on anything. You were the king of like giving yourself permission and being humble enough to just say, right, I'm just going to try. And what I got you to do is write down a big list of all the things that you feel like you have some knowledge in, or you've made a lot of mistakes in, or you've learned a lot, or you're good at, or you are really passionate about. And you wrote a big list. And there are a couple of things on that list that you really liked. But you've very shyly said, oh man, like, but the thing I really care about, the thing I really want to do is I want to do what you're doing, Andy. I want to be able to coach people or help people. And I said, like, we'll do that. And you kind of went through this conversation of like, but I don't deserve to. I'm not knowledgeable enough. Now's not the right time. Like I have to go further in my journey. All of that kind of stuff, which by the way, you know this, but that's exactly how I felt when I first started my website. I was not ready. I didn't think I could help anyone. And so in the early days, we basically just got you to, I think you started with your blog, right? Your blog was the
Yeah.
first thing you started. And you were just writing
Yes.
articles and like they were crap. Like the first 3 articles were crappy. Now, I could see the gold within them. When I say they were crap, I mean like they were unrefined. There you go. That's how I'd say it. There's like a little gold nugget or a diamond underneath, and you can see the diamond, and you're like, oh, if he just keeps polishing and does more articles, that diamond is going to come out. How many articles have you written at this point? And it's only
I
been
th-
4 months, right?
yeah, I think it's about like 40, between 40 or 50, something like that.
Ladies
But
and gentlemen, that's taking
yeah.
action.
Yeah, at the start when I just started with the blog, I was literally writing one article a day, sometimes even two, and I was
While
just,
working, yeah.
yeah, while doing all of this stuff as well. And yeah, I just didn't focus too much on quality at the start and just being able to express myself, to learn, to even give myself permission to express myself, for
Mm.
someone to see me and to find how I can actually express myself, how I would write, how it all works, because
Because
I
you don't
didn't.
have a
Yeah,
voice, like you don't know how to write.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you were terrified of sounding too much like me at the start. You were really scared
yeah,
of that.
definitely.
And I was like,
Yeah.
just sound like me then. Just write articles that sound like me. I had the same fear, by the way. At the start, I was like, I'm terrified that I will sound like good looking loser. And I did. I even had someone leave a comment saying, bro, you're just copying good looking loser. Like, but I think at the start, if you can just write, it doesn't matter if you sound like you're copying someone else. It doesn't matter if your articles are crappy. It doesn't matter if nobody reads them. It really doesn't fucking matter. What you said there, I think, is so unbelievably important. Just do a lot. Don't focus on quality. Just do, like you've written 50 articles. You've done probably 50 YouTube videos at this point as well.
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like you're the king of just getting in there and doing a lot of content. And that's how I built my shit up as well. I've done at this point, oh God, I don't even know, like 600 or 700 YouTube videos if you include podcasts. So podcasts and YouTube videos like 600 or 700, articles probably like 300. Like it's just a crazy amount of content. And so a lot of it is going to be crappy. The good news is nobody will see that because they only see the really popular good stuff. So the only way or the best way to make really good content and to actually help people is to just do a lot. And that really does require being humble at the start. Like how terrified were you at the start to let go of your ego and just go, I'm just going to put myself out there. And if it's shit, it's shit. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah, that was, I was really afraid of that. And to share as well, because I was writing a lot of stuff, but I still didn't share it. But after the time I started started sharing it, at least with some friends, and yeah, then on, I even started sharing on Reddit. That was the huge part. That was
You were
Really
terrified to
terrifying.
post your
Yeah,
articles on Reddit. Yeah, that was scary because I even said to you, like, do it. Just be okay with lots of negative comments. Like, because that's Reddit. And yeah, you got negative comments. And that was a whole process
yeah,
that I coached you through. That really was like a big process of you running towards your fear. You were really terrified.
yeah. And then there was, yeah, there was one article that Reddit really liked for some reason. For like, at least for me, at least for the start, it got like how I don't remember how many upvotes, but it was really it
It
was
was
on top
several
for a
hundred,
couple of
man.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was yeah. I just literally couldn't believe that, and it was probably one of the best of my articles that I ever wrote, but it was still hard to believe that someone could read that. And there was a lot of people who were like, "Oh, thank you for you really helped." And that for me was probably the moment when I realized that even something that I don't believe can help people, it still can. It still can inspire someone, or someone can relate to that, or something like that. And you just never know, because at that time I thought I had a couple of different articles that I posted that were quite good as well, but
Hmm.
this one was the best in people's opinion, or it just happened like that. But yeah, writing a lot or just doing a lot of any content is really important, just to find, even if you copy someone, it's you still get something of you in that content as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
and it refines over time. It
Hmm.
only with practice can you actually find what you can add to that.
Yeah. Your voice has to have a chance to come out. And again, the only real way to do that is to just do a lot of content. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, it was quite inspiring to see how much you wrote in those early couple of weeks. You wrote a lot. You really were writing like every day, and how much you shared on Reddit, even when you were terrified. And that moment where you did have one of the posts go kind of viral, that's that, I had a similar moment. Mine was the first couple of times I got people emailing me saying, "Hey, this really changed my life. Thank you." That's when this shit becomes really addictive. When content creation or coaching or helping people or whatever it is that you want to call this, that's when that becomes really addictive. When you have a couple of people say, "Hey, this really helped me," and you realize, "Oh shit, I'm not just like typing keys on my keyboard. I'm actually making a difference in some way. There is someone at the other end of this article who will read it and it will have an impact on them, or it might have an impact on them. Holy shit, this is pretty amazing." And I think when you add that on top of, when you got your first couple of clients, and what I got you to do at the start was to just say to people, "Yo, I'll do a coaching call with you for free." And you were doing that on Reddit. You just said like, "Yo, I'll just jump on a call with me." And you did a couple of friends as well. And this is something that I recommend people do when they start a business or a side hustle, is get your friends and family involved. And you can give them stuff for free. You can give them a product for free and just get them to review it or leave you a review, or do a coaching call with them for free. One of the other guys in my coaching group right now who started being a coach, he's just coaching his sister and his friends. And it's like, yeah, just start with that. And that's something that you did as well. But that moment when the very first person paid you, which you were fucking terrified to ask for money, you were so scared. And so the cheat code that I gave you, and anybody listening, write this down. If you start some sort of coaching business, work with your first few clients for free. And then after that, start telling people, "I will do a coaching call with you. And after the coaching call, you can just pay me whatever you think it was worth. If you think it was only worth $1, then just pay me $1." And you had a guy pay you like $150 or something for one of the
yeah,
calls. And then he's paid you a bunch of times since then. So you've made $450 from, this one client. How mind blowing was that? Because I know you didn't think you were going to make any money like within the coaching. And I was like,
yeah.
"Motherfucker, we're going to get you some money." And you were like, "No." And I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, that was surprisingly, I didn't have a lot of fear about like receiving money. I didn't like think that I don't deserve to receive money, but I still just didn't think that it will happen that fast. someone will give me even at this level something, and especially that much for me. And
That's what
yeah,
happens
that
when you
was,
ask. Ask for what you
yeah,
want, and you shall receive eventually.
yeah, and that definitely just improves everything, like the quality that I want to put in, that just the gratitude and appreciation for that person as well.
Hmm.
Just I was liking every call that we had, and
Yeah, you want to change the person's
it
life
was,
because they're giving
yeah,
you a lot of money, and it's this beautiful, special, like two-way relationship where they're giving you money and paying your bills, and you feel so grateful to them
yeah,
that you give everything you can to change their life, and then they feel grateful to you. Yeah, it's the reason why I encourage people to put their prices up and to like keep adjusting those prices up and give more value each time you do. Obviously, don't just do a half an hour call for. Actually, you guys can do whatever you want, but I have always put my price up and give more value because it does. It's just this beautiful fucking two-way relationship where it's like even this morning I posted in my coaching group and I was like, I'm so fucking grateful to you guys. Like I can't believe that you guys pay me money and pay my bills and then let me help you and I get to walk amongst you. Like, holy crap, like I'm grateful. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like someone pays you $150 and that's your first payment for coaching. It's like you want to give that motherfucker a hug and change his life because you're like, bro, I love you.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
On the subject of gratitude, that was another thing that you wrote down, something that you had, because you wrote this big post at the end of your coaching with like all the stuff you felt like you had um, learned, and one of them was, I've learned how to have magnitudes more gratitude, peace, and love in my life, how to be happy much more often and not be afraid of it. My mindset shift immensely to an even more positive place. So when you say afraid of it, what were you afraid of? Like afraid of happiness, afraid of peace, afraid of not doing enough, afraid of being lazy?
I was really afraid of, yeah, just being okay with this. Like we all have the days when we don't do much, and like we don't put enough effort. And I was always the person who were not okay with that. I needed
Yeah, you
to
were.
put in all of the effort I could, and if I couldn't, I didn't
And then,
realize that I beat myself up for it, but I
yeah,
did. I
you
really
would.
did.
You would have like the best day ever, and you would write these posts in the Facebook group with like 20 things you did that day. And I'd look at that and I'd even say to you sometimes, dude, that's like 5 times more than I did today. And at the end of that post, you'd say, but I'm not doing enough. What's wrong with me? I'm so lazy. Like I had 15 minutes that I could have been working today. And I was like, hey, dude, that's when I first started saying, dude, you're headed for a breakdown if you keep being this hard on yourself. But yeah, you really were
Yeah,
afraid of having 1 minute in the day where you weren't like, I could have. I
yeah,
bet you took a shit with your laptop, and you're like, I have to be typing on my laptop while I take a shit. Like I have to be efficient. Efficiency. Remember, efficiency was you
yes,
were obsessed
yeah,
with the word efficiency at the start of the coaching. You're like, I have to
yeah,
be efficient. I need to be efficient, and I was like, bro, just be peaceful. So yeah,
yeah. That I lost where I was.
afraid. Okay, afraid of not making the most of every day. Afraid of being lazy.
Yeah,
Afraid of not doing
yeah,
enough. Afraid of dying and not having done enough. You were afraid of that.
that is as well. Yeah. So yeah, I literally was obsessed with making every minute count. I was on the strictest sleep schedules when I just woke up at 3 a.m. and started immediately doing something. And and as well, I didn't like almost always work on like this business or like blog that I started. It was also the mindset stuff when I worked with. I did inquiries, I did just writing a journal and all of this stuff. But I still had a lot of schedules, like what
Mm.
I need to focus each day for how much amount of time. And yeah, just getting, yeah, at some moment, I became okay. So yeah, for the from where I started. I was really terrified to have some of the days when I wouldn't perform great at, at my that definition, and I would be okay with that, because that meant if I would be okay one time, I would be okay like forever, and I will just quit or something.
Yeah, bro. I
And
remember that big conversation. Yeah. I was like, what are you so afraid of? You're like, I'm afraid if I ever let myself relax for 1 minute, then I'll quit
yeah,
forever. I'll just be lazy and I'll
yeah,
become a lazy person and I'll quit. And yeah, I was like, how are you going to quit though? Like, why would you quit for the rest of your life? Like, that doesn't make sense. Taking time off and relaxing is not the same thing as quitting. But I think that's a common thing that a lot of people in self-improvement feel. They're like, well, if I ever have a day off, then I'm letting myself be lazy, and then the next minute I'll wake up morbidly obese, and I'm just lazy, and I weigh 600 pounds, and I don't go to outside, and it's like, how does one day off end in obesity? You'd have to have like thousands of
yeah,
days off and eat a lot of American food. Hey, we can make that joke because neither of us are American.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, it's a common fear, man. It really is. And do you feel
yeah,
these days you're not so afraid of it? Like you're not afraid of time off, you're not afraid of peace, you're not afraid of just being okay.
yeah. It after a time in the group, I was at the start I was starting to be okay with having days off, but I scheduled them. It was like the time for relaxation, the time for productivity, the time for relaxation, and so it wasn't really different from that. It still was scheduled. It still was
You
really
you were I
strict.
remember you were like, I have to be very efficient when I have to be super productive and
Yeah,
efficient on my day off. And I was like, I mean you can, but like that's kind of not a day off then.
yeah. Like I have to be productive at my relaxation, so I
Yep.
would
Yep.
relax as
I'm not
much as I
relaxing good
can.
enough. I'm being lazy with my relaxation. I'm not
Yeah,
relaxing hard enough.
yeah.
That's
That
really
was
common.
yeah, and just I became much more okay with, I think, with spontaneous things that happen, because for
Mm,
all of my schedules, even allowing myself to relax, if something went not according to plan, I would just panic at that time. I would just like, oh, it's all bad now. I still did something, but I could have done so much more if that thing didn't happen, if some event like
hmm
just didn't change my plans. But that what happens, that what usually happens. And so I was having a lot of these days when I was just miserable because something changed. And
Yeah.
that was the biggest change, just accepting. I still have plans. I still, of course, like want to do something at some day, but it is that it is I want to do something. It's not,
Not I
if
need
something
to or I
changes,
have to.
yeah, yeah. And even if I need or have to, even I still have some thoughts like that sometimes. Even if it changes, I can just accept whatever comes new,
Mm,
whatever new comes. I can reschedule. I can do this thing that I wanted at different time, or even if it does have some consequences, it's still, I can accept that. So I just realized that my life will not fall apart if I miss that one thing that I really wanted to do or thought I needed to do.
yeah, you
There
became a
will be
much more
solutions. Yeah.
you became a much more resilient person who was able to like, roll with the punches as the saying goes. Because before that you were trying to control everything. You had a schedule, you were like, I have to do this, I have to be super efficient. You definitely tried to control yourself. You weren't controlling to other people, but you were controlling to yourself. And you were trying to control the whole fucking universe and make sure everything goes the way you want it to. But the thing about the universe is it doesn't give a fuck about your plans. Like literally, it thinks your plans are adorable, and it's like, that's a cute little plan. Guess what? It's gonna rain today, bitch, because I decided that it will. Or, oh, that's a cute little plan. Guess what? Here's some traffic so that you don't get to your meeting on time. Sorry, bitch. I'm the rest of the fucking universe, and I'm gonna do whatever I want, and I don't give a fuck about your plan because everybody else has a little plan as well. And if I was to just follow your plan and give you everything you want, well, then I'd be letting everybody else down. So I'm kind of just going to be pretty fucking random. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I think if you can just really be okay with that, Buddhism is a really good place to start. But what you did is you read the book Loving What Is. You also really embraced letting go and the concept of like the map of consciousness and the emotional levels and stuff. And you got to a point where you were like very like a Zen monk, like a little hippie, and you even had a day you played this little experiment. I remember, we were leading up to this, and you played this experiment where you went out on a date with a girl, and you basically said you told her, and you told us that you were going to do this. You said, "What if I don't make any decisions at all today? What if I just get her to make all the decisions?" And she was happy to, even though she found it very weird because she's very shy and submissive and like not used to taking the lead. But you were like, what if I just don't make a single decision? Will I be okay? Or will the whole world explode and I'll die and like, nothing will be okay? So how did that experiment go? How did that day go of you just going like, she can make all the decisions and I'm just going to learn to be okay with it and not be so controlling all the time? Because that was really hard for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, for the context, it wasn't just a date. We went to another city here and just
It
traveled
was
and
like a
explored that
full-on
city.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was actually like a day and a half because it was over the weekend. But
Mhm.
yeah, from the very beginning, it just went completely wrong because we missed a train that was called, and I wasn't prepared for that. And at the start, after like an hour into that, I had the thoughts like maybe I should quit. Maybe it's all starting. It's all gonna be a disaster. I'm
One
gonna
hour
just
into
go
it, you're like,
home.
I want to
Yeah,
quit. I need to control everything again.
yeah, yeah. Like just to stop. Everything will be a disaster, and nothing good will come out of it. And I'm just gonna go home. Nothing. We didn't went we were still back in the city here and didn't buy anything, so I'm like, okay, let's just cancel everything. I really literally had these thoughts, and that was the moment when I realized that, okay, that's my controlling attitude just takes over
That's my
because
ego.
I need
Yeah.
to control, yeah, every moment. Because if I won't, I think that nothing I think that everything just falls apart. And that I just accepted these moments. There were a couple of more moments like that,
Mm.
and I just kept accepting them. Like there was uncomfortable just situations where, yeah, it was cold and I didn't prepare. I just haven't researched at all because I wanted it to be a completely spontaneous thing. And so I had to accept that, and also to have no, like, I relinquished my choice to her and to accept everything that comes out of it, even if it's something that I don't really like,
Hmm.
and to still find something that I can use it for. That still it still gives me something, even if it's just the opportunity to practice how I can handle that, not to be really negative about the situation, and to just be grateful for her that she doing
Is
such
willing to do this crazy thing
yeah,
for you. Yep.
yeah, because that was really, I think for times it was kind of stressful for her. Sometimes it was kind of fun. uh, but yeah, overall it was really insightful experience to just not have, I still had some control at a couple of times before,
Sure. You're not going to do something
because
you
yeah,
really don't
yeah,
want to do. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it was a huge contrast with how I usually structured my life before.
Mm.
Like I controlled every moment, even at that time when I was already switching to more peaceful state and more accepting. I was still controlling a lot, and that experience, it gave me. I started just enjoying any moment that I have more
Mm.
vividly. I think more.
You become more
Definitely.
present.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like because you're actually connecting with what's happening. You're present in reality instead of fighting against it, which is what we're doing when we try and control every little bit, every little moment, and ourselves and other people and all of that. You're not present to what's happening because you're sitting there, like maybe it's raining, and instead of feeling the rain on your skin and being grateful for the rain and going, "Isn't this cool? Look, it's raining." Instead of all of that, you're just going, "It shouldn't be raining. I fucking hate the rain. It's cold. It sucks." You're not actually paying attention. You're not finding any beauty in the moment. You're not finding anything to be happy about or grateful for. You're disconnected from the moment. You're literally wishing the moment didn't exist. You're wishing I was in the future or I wish I was in the past. And it's like, what about right now? Like you're literally not here when you're fantasizing about the future or the past. So that was a huge one for you, man. And I think let's make something really clear. I suspect I already know the answer, but I suspect you're going to say I already know the answer. You're grateful for the period of time in the past when you were really controlling because that helped pull you out of self-harm. It helped get you some dates. It helped get you a relationship and all of that. I'm grateful for the period of time when I was a controlling motherfucker because holy crap, that made sure that I didn't get into another violent
Yeah.
relationship that made me, go and actually take some action. And so it's kind of a process. It's a weird process that a lot of us go through. It's an interesting process where maybe we're at a point in our lives where we're very passive and we don't take action and we feel like things just happen to us and we feel like a victim and it's not fair and why can't I have the life I want to live? And so we become very action oriented. We start taking a lot of action. We start trying to control things, and not in a bad way, but we're just acutely aware that now everything is under our control, right? Like if I don't like my job,
Mhm.
I have the control and the power to leave. If I don't like my relationship, I have the control to walk away. If I don't like my body, I have the control to make myself go to the gym and enjoy that. Like you realize that you have control. And what often happens for most of us, maybe all of us, but when you go through your self-improvement journey far enough, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I fully understand that I have control and power. I have all these habits in place, but now I want to try going back to how I was at the start where I didn't control everything, but now it's in a different way. It's letting go. It's letting things just happen and being okay with the way they are. And you still take action, obviously, but it's it's that you don't control all of the small little details that don't really matter. That was the conversation you and I had in a couple of coaching calls. I was like, you can still control the things that you care about. I still have preferences. I still have things I care about. I'm not going to go and have sex with a man because I don't want to do that. I am going to continue to love my girlfriend because I want to. I'm going to continue to go to the gym because I want to. But I don't need to control every little tiny detail. And now I'm going to go back to how I was at the start where I didn't have, like, I didn't control things as much, but I'm doing it in a peaceful way now. At the start, it was like a victim and this isn't fair and why can't I have any control? Now I know that I have full control over everything in my life. And I also know that I've put all of these habits in place and I've become a person who success kind of just comes to. Like success just happens once you set up all of the habits and everything. Like you accidentally, like in your case, and it's not accidental, but it feels accidental. It feels like it just fucking happens. All of the stuff you've achieved here, we've had this conversation before, it just kind of happened. You did action, but it just kind of fucking happened. I feel like that too at this point. I feel like I'm not really doing anything. It just kind of fucking happens. And at that point, you go, maybe I can let go a little bit. Maybe I don't need to control everything. Maybe I can take my hands off the steering wheel for a little bit and the car will drive itself because I already built an autopilot system for the car. I spent the last 5 years building this fucking autopilot. Maybe I can trust it now. You're basically trusting yourself and your habits and the support network that you've built around you and all of the people that will have your back and all of that shit. And the good habits like good sleep, good nutrition, good gym, being kind to other people, all of that shit. You're trusting that. And so for a lot of guys, they will hear all of this and they'll go like, why the fuck did you like have less control? Why did you let some woman control your life for a day and a half? That's insane. What are you doing? And it's like, yeah, we're not recommending everybody does that. You can
Yeah.
try it and see what happens. Nothing bad will happen. But like for a lot of guys, they're like, no, dude, I need to control everything. And yeah, that's kind of a period that a lot of us go through. So it's cool seeing you come out of the other side of that, getting to the point where you're basically trusting yourself and you're saying, I think my life will be okay. And that's something you said a lot. You say that a lot. You're like, I know everything will be okay. You said that to me like hundreds of times in our coaching. You were like, I know everything will be okay. Like, no matter what happens, everything will be okay. And that's a nice point to be at, man. That's a life changing point to be at. You're basically saying, the universe is kind. I'm safe. Everything's okay. People are nice. I trust myself. I trust the rest of the universe. Existence is kind. That's a big deal.
Yeah, you're totally right. It is about the trust. It I think the trust is built in the action because yeah, it is required at some point. At the start, we don't have this framework that we can rely upon, and
Mm.
it just haven't built yet.
Yeah, you haven't built it yet.
All I had at some moment is was my memories that if I don't control anything, everything just falls apart.
Yep. Yep.
And
Look how shit my life is. I get depressed if I don't control things. Yeah.
yeah, then I started controlling everything, and it improved. And it's like, oh, the control is the only thing that works. It is that belief for a while that keeps that kept me going. But after some time, I still believe that it it is really distracting to be without the noise.
Everybody listening, I
uh,
muted my microphone for half a
yeah,
second there so I could pour myself a glass
yeah,
of water. Yeah.
and I just went out of my thoughts because of that. so so yeah, yeah, and over these actions, and then deep in a little bit into this. What if I let go a little bit, and what happens
Mm,
then? And
mm,
just
mm.
allowing small loose loss of control, and just seeing that
Yeah.
still I have enough knowledge to just support myself even if I don't control this thing, and then returning
Yep.
back to the control because it's comfortable now. And yeah, just doing that over time. And there was a point when I was still afraid of letting go completely. Just I think that was the moment this weekend, and a couple of days before, when I just my days off, when I didn't try to control anything. It I was still afraid of that. I was still afraid I want to return, but I kind of took a leap of faith and realized that even if I don't, the most I am losing is I will probably still be back in a couple of weeks, or I have some friends that will support me. I was still in a group that you guys would have pulled me out of it.
Mhm.
I still posted. I was in contact with something. I had to have this a lot of support to even try that. But after I tried, and I realized that I actually can see that after a while, I just want to return. I want to improve. I want my life to be better anyway. And I just cannot forget that. I cannot forget that everything is
You're not going to
possible.
stop. Yeah. You're not going to
Yeah,
stop being a self improvement like
yeah. I
guru
don't need to
cult.
force that thought on me anymore, because at the start I definitely did. I could have fallen back at the start. But after a while, it's just internalized. It's not
Yep.
going anywhere. Never. And so I can relax into that and just allow my knowledge to carry me some of the ways. Control is still required sometimes, yeah, just to establish boundaries, to have preferences and all of that. But it's definitely the details are not that important anymore. It
Mm.
will If one path didn't turn out to be right because I missed some details, I didn't control them as much. There is a lot of other ways that I can do the same thing, and
And it
that
still would have taught
realization,
you
yeah,
something.
yeah. So it always teaches something. That is
Yeah.
the
Yeah, we had that conversation a lot of times. One of my favorite exercises to get my clients to do when they post in the group, or when they tell me something is bad, when they say, "Oh, this woman rejected me, that's bad." My friend stood me up, that's bad. This woman flaked on me, that's bad. My favorite exercise to get people to do, and anyone listening, you can do this too. When they tell me something is bad, I will say, give me 20 reasons why it's good. And that is such a mental shift for so many guys, for so many people. They're like, but there's no good reason why she flaked on me. It's like, no, you just sit there with a pen and paper, sit there for a couple of hours, and you will come up with 20. I got you to do this so many times, and it became a habit for you. You just really, really took to this. And you would write down 20 reasons why it's a good thing that this woman just flaked on me. It's a good thing that this woman just ghosted me. Like, and if you sit there, you can always come up with 20 reasons for literally everything. Everything that has ever happened, you can come up with 20 reasons. And if you struggle with that, you can come up with at least one. One reason why it's a good thing that this happened. Or one reason why you're going to make it a good thing. Like, because to some extent, having that winner's mindset and saying, no, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to say it was a bad thing that she flaked on me. That makes me the victim. I'm going to say it was a good thing. Now I get to go to bed early and have a good night's sleep, and I'll feel energized tomorrow. I get to go hang out with my friends instead, and that will be a good experience for me. I get to sit there and really focus on myself and say, okay, she flaked on me. Maybe if I had a little bit more muscle, this might happen less. Okay, maybe I'll go to the gym. Maybe I'll really hit the gym harder. Or maybe this is a really good practice and test of my stoicism. Maybe this will help me fully embrace the fact that other people have their own wants and desires, and women aren't just walking around giving me everything I want all at once. Like, maybe other people have their own preferences. So you can use it for positivity. You can use it for, like, to find the good in it. And that helps you ultimately with what you're talking about, where you just control things a lot less because you realize no matter what happens, I'm going to be able to find some good in it, or I'm going to be able to make it good. I'm going to be able to turn it into something positive. I'm going to use it to fuel my self-improvement or to be a better person. And at that point, man, it feels like the whole world is your friend. It feels like nothing bad ever happens. And one thing you got really fucking good at was every time you would get negative comments or negative criticism from Reddit especially, but other places as well, you got really good at turning that into a good thing. And even saying to the people, thank you. Thank you for the negative criticism. And that's something that I've gotten, pretty decent at as well. Every time I see a negative comment, I'm now fucking grateful for it. I'm like, thank you. I really appreciate this. This is helping me be a better person, or it's helping me reflect on myself and seeing if maybe you're correct. Maybe I should kill myself. Maybe you're correct. Like, that might sound weird. You and I would know what I'm talking about there where I say that. But basically, every time you have a negative comment, you say, maybe that's true. Maybe what they're saying is true. Maybe I am an ugly piece of shit. Is there anything about me that I think I could improve in terms of looks? Yeah, there's a couple of things. So maybe this person is actually giving me something useful when they call me an ugly piece of shit. Maybe they're trying to help me. Maybe they're like enlightened and they're like a spiritual guru, like a spiritual teacher. And I didn't know that I'm an ugly piece of shit, and they're here to tell me and help me grow. So thank you for telling me I'm an ugly piece of shit. That's really helpful. Like, you must be more enlightened than me. So really embracing that, making the most of everything that happens. Yeah, there is no bad in the universe at that point. It feels like the whole universe is your friend. But that's something you have to actively do, ladies and gentlemen. I've worked on that for years at this point. You've worked on this for many, many, many months, and very intensely. It's not like you've done this once or twice. You've done this like day in, day out. A lot.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit. I mean, I guess we don't have to spend a long time on this one because I am conscious that it's been an hour and a half already. But we haven't even talked about this. You became a lot more social, man. You pushed yourself. You went to a bunch of meetup events with other people. You made a friend. I think you cut out some other friend who wasn't as positive in your life. You were more comfortable having platonic time with females, for instance, like, the woman that we talked about before. You really did work a lot on the social life. And I think that was you just being more open to like anything that happens, because before that you were like, no, I'm the lone wolf and I don't have time for socializing stuff and I need to just work on my business. And how was that for you? Like opening up and saying, no, maybe the social stuff is important. Maybe this is something I want to get good at.
Yeah, the social stuff was always something that it was almost at the bottom of my priority list, and I thought I would focus on that in the last moment, like after everything else would be handled.
Like when you're 80 years old, you're like, oh, I need a friend now.
Yeah.
Before I die.
Like, I'm gonna go to some meetups now. Gonna meet some people. Yeah, and I realized actually that it is an important part of the life, and I guess that was switch that I got from being not that obsessed with sex and dating, because before I just really thought it was a waste of time. I was
Mm.
trying to focus on that fully. And yeah, by being more just like accepting of whatever comes, whatever opportunity comes, that because there is not a lot of meetups here, but the ones that I like, I'm going all the time. And yeah, just going there without expectations. That was the because
Without
before
trying to
I
control
used
everything and
yeah I used there. I went on these meetups before before the switch. I went there with some agenda, like I
mm,
want to meet there some girl that I would still date or something like that. And if I don't do that, that is a failure. I shouldn't have even went there.
you put so much
And
pressure on yourself. Yeah.
yeah, and that doesn't like these types of meetups that are more friendly and they're for more travelers. So it didn't happen that much, and so I thought like, oh, that was a complete waste of time. But when I relaxed into it and accepted anything, I realized that it can help all of my life, just having people there. Like again, the friend that I met here there as well, and had for a couple of months. Uh, this opportunity would have I just wouldn't have had that if I just dismissed all the other if I went there with an agenda and kept strictly not looking for anything else, not being open-minded, not seeing that people still can give me something, even if that's something that I didn't want at the start. So being open to the opportunities that just present themselves, that was really huge part that I got from social. And yeah, that just being more social and liking that stuff. I think that was with open mindedness as well, because I accepted that even different types of relationships with people, friendly
Mm.
ones or just even acquaintances where I talk with someone, still add a lot to my life. And
Yeah. Yeah. I think
I
in
had
self improvement, sorry, you go.
yeah, I had so many realizations, so many epiphanies while I was just talking with people about
Yeah, man.
my stuff that I was going through.
I think in self improvement, I wonder if it's men that do it more. It probably is. It seems to be, at least in my point of view. Where we will often say, okay, I'm going to go all in with business, and then we'll just kind of neglect everything else. And I don't think that's a bad thing because it helps you build the business. But, you see guys doing it with sex and dating and relationships as well, where they'll like neglect friendships. I think generally speaking, they seem to understand the value of friendships a little more. I think as guys, we can often get into a position where we just don't have any fucking friends. I was definitely like that at the start of my good looking loser days. I had zero friends because I didn't think they were important. I was like, no, I've always done everything by myself. I can get it done by myself. If you don't know you kind of don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're missing. Once you actually have a couple of friends in your life or a couple of people to like bounce ideas off of and to support you and to be there for you in your dark moments, I can't tell you how much my friends have added to my life. But before I ever had friends, I would have said, like, what can a friend get me? A friend won't do anything for me. They'll just take up my time. That's time I could be spending on self improvement or dating or something else. Like, I don't have time for friends, but yeah, when you actually get a couple of friends, and it is something that I push most of my clients, if anyone ever does come to me and they say, I don't have any friends, or if I just hear them not ever talking about friends, I will like immediately jump on that and I'll say, you have to have at least one friend. Like, please get at least one friend. And obviously, Meetup is a really good way of doing that. There's a lot of different ways. I have a full guide on my website on how to make friends, but yeah, the value is just incredible, man. Like knowing that people care about you, being able to talk about your self improvement to
Yeah,
other people. That's so fucking
yeah,
valuable. Like they're basically your
yeah,
accountability partners. And so if you think I can't afford to have or I don't have time to have friends, okay, rename them as instead of friends, they are accountability partners. Okay, see now the value? And it's like that, yeah. Let me go get some accountability partners, but they're really your friends. But even that's like just so incredibly valuable.
Yeah, spending time with these people is like the mirror to yourself. It's just so important. Just by sharing a lot of stuff,
Mm,
you just learn a lot of stuff about yourself as well. And yeah, a
mm.
lot of people just want to support your efforts. And sometimes you will meet people who really click with, and they become your friends as well. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't understate the value of having people around you that are also on a mission. It doesn't have to be the same goals as
yeah,
you, but they want stuff. They're trying to do stuff. They're trying to be better people. It's like that just like lifts you up. It really does. They inspire you and you
yeah,
inspire them. And then it's like, oh, we're on this mission together. We're partners, sort of thing. So, yeah, super important, man. What would you say is the one biggest thing that you took from coaching?
for me, it was this mindset shift that allowed me to be like basically what we talked at the start, not trying to prove anything to anyone and being okay with whatever happens. That is the phrase that is the mindset I got from it. That is the huge thing.
We call that peace.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely deserve peace. Everybody listening does. I understand that not everybody is ready for it. I definitely wasn't a couple of years ago. You weren't a year ago. But everybody deserves it. It's why we talk about it so much. It's probably the thing that I talk the most about with my actual coaching clients. You know that because obviously, you did coaching, but for anyone else listening, like the coaching is not just like, let's get laid, let's make money. It's like, that's 10% of the coaching. You will sign up thinking that's what we're going to do. But no, it's like that peace stuff. Everybody deserves that. And I think a lot of people don't think that they don't think they think now is not the right time to be peaceful. You definitely had that. It's like, I can't be
yeah,
peaceful yet. I have to achieve another goal and prove even more. And I have to do this and I have to do that. And it's like, why can't you just be peaceful while you do that stuff? Why can't you be happy while you do that stuff? Can't you enjoy the process? And I think you definitely came to me as someone who didn't really know how to enjoy the process.
yeah,
And from my point of view, it felt like most of the coaching was getting you to just be okay with the process and learn that, like, oh, wait, I've done enough. I'm allowed to be happy with this stuff.
yeah. Just that enjoying the finding something to enjoy in the middle of it will make everything better and will make me stay consistent and just keep going and not have even if you have the mindset that you won't quit and you will still return. If you will be more enjoyable about what you're doing, you still you will make more progress. You will not
Oh,
have
yeah.
much breakdowns. Yeah,
And you actually want to make progress because you're like, this is
yeah,
fun, rather than
yeah,
what you had and what a lot of people have. And I used to have this too, where it's like, oh, this is a chore. I have to do my self improvement. I have to prove that I'm not a piece of shit. I have to prove this and I have to do that. And it's like, that sounds painful. That doesn't sound fun. Why would you
so
make
much
progress for something that sounds awful?
yeah, so much energy goes into just convincing yourself to do something that you hate.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're
You're not
telling yourself you
enjoying.
don't like
Yeah,
it. Yeah. You're telling
yeah,
yourself, I have to do this. Do we like doing things that we have to do? No, we're human beings. Animals don't either. Like, nobody or nothing seems to like doing stuff we have to do. We don't like it. We resist it. And so if you can just literally tell yourself, no, I want to do this. I'm allowed to do this. This is a fun thing that I get to do. It's like, oh, wow, now I want to do this. Like, this is cool. Especially if we're talking for long term sustainability across the rest of your life. And most of us, we want to be improving for the rest of our. I don't think anyone doesn't want to improve for the rest of their life. It's like, if it sucks, if self improvement is hard and difficult and suffering and painful, are you really going to continue that for the rest of your life? Or are you going to stop and then start and then have a breakdown and start and have another breakdown and stop again and pause and go on a break? And like, you won't be able to do it like 6 days a week, every single, week. If you hadn't signed up for coaching, where do you think you'd be?
I would have still been so stressed. I definitely wouldn't have started my blog, and being able to share myself, that I just wouldn't have given myself permission for a long while after that. It was just not even in my mind. I had for someone to tell me that it is possible, to
Mm,
guide me into that. And from and I wouldn't be as peaceful, and I definitely wouldn't have this all of this immense gratitude to everything that happens around me, and being able to be happy about a lot of stuff that I was really frustrated before. So a lot of mindset changes. Like, I would have still been okay looking back,
of course.
but it would have been much more frustrating experience for a couple of years, I think, because I was not at the. I had to have someone to guide me to that. I by myself I would have took too long time. Like, I would have taken years to get to the same point that I am right now. Yeah,
If someone's thinking about coaching but they're kind of on the fence, what would you say to them?
do it. It is really it is life changing. You're probably going to get something that you don't even know you need in your life. At least, yeah, that probably will happen. Yeah, and it is so it, it is so important to have someone nearby that really supports you, and the group of people as well that supports you as well, and working on something with you.
Mm.
All of this experience was literally life changing. Yeah, so it's totally worth it.
You have come an incredibly long way. It really has been an honor. It
Yeah,
really has been.
for me as well.
Where where can people find you? You've got a YouTube channel, blog. What do you want
Yeah,
me to give to people?
I have a blog called mindsetarc.com, and the channel with the same name, Mindset Arc. And for now, it's I'm doing this 365 project when I'm just talking about a lot of stuff, and yeah, and blog when I still write some articles from time to time. They are more quality. I'm trying to get more quality there, or just share something, and for for people to relate. So yeah, that's how you can find me. And on the blog there is a page where with all of my contacts as well, if someone
Mm.
wants to reach me as well.
If someone wants coaching with you, hell yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
sign up.
that is
Dmitry
true.
is a lovely human being, and I would highly recommend coaching with him. Absolutely. Like I said, man, it's been an absolute honor working with you. It really has been, especially that first week. That first week was a big. After that call, that was pretty impactful on me too. After that speech, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I agree.